Hello and welcome to Tech Chairs, the sports tech podcast. I'm Rebecca Hopkins, CEO of the STA Group.
And I'm Alex Dibble, a sports broadcaster who's worked with tech startups in sports and other sectors.
This season is all about finances and failure. We're speaking to sports tech entrepreneurs about the financial journeys they and their companies have been on, the highs, the lows, and the lessons. We hope these conversations are valuable in helping other entrepreneurs and anyone thinking of taking the plunge avoid dangerous pitfalls and set themselves up for commercial success.
This season of Tech Chairs is sponsored by Sports Tech HQ in Indiana. Sports Tech HQ, the home of sports, is building the largest cluster of sports technology companies in North America. In this industry, proximity matters. You want to be where the teams, leagues, and decision makers actually are. Indiana is home to dozens of sports organizations that rely on technology to run smarter, move faster, and stay competitive. Don't get lost in the noise. Build where the sports industry actually lives. Learn more at sthq.org.
Our guest for this episode is Adam Clarke, co-founder and CEO of URunn. URunn produces personalised running plans for every user, including coaching from elite athletes and guidance from Stride AI. Adam is one co-founder, the other is Sir Mo Farah. I mean, Adam, you've gone on that very particular journey from being an athlete to an entrepreneur. And a lot of entrepreneurs talk about resilience, coming back from failure, determination, all those qualities that you typically associate with being an athlete. How much have you had to draw on your experience and your reserves that that pro sport taught you now that you've crossed the Rubicon and become joined us in the world of sports tech enterprise?
Yeah, thanks. So simple answer, a hell of a lot, I think, is the very top line of it. I think I've run my whole life. I don't want to go too much into that story. But yeah, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, I was that one. There was always that one kid at school. I always explain it this way. There was always a kid at school. It was the muddy cross country. And there was one kid's eyes lit up. That was me. Back then. So through my whole, I suppose, career, I'm 34 years young. And like I said, so I've had a long career. Do you know what? It's a really hard thing to answer really shortly, but I think it's just like knowing that you do just learn the hard way. And I think for me, like, I had so many lessons even as kind of a junior, going to events. I grew up in Hastings down on the coast, kind of a big fish in a small pond, you could say. And then you go to a slightly more senior event and you soon realize when you're coming second to last in like a national heat, you've not even made the final, and you're in the back of the car pretty upset with your parents. You certainly learn from an early age a little bit of resilience, and I think they're unteachable lessons that I've kind of gone through as an athlete. And I still run now to a little bit, not as much as I have done, but I'm still getting those lessons daily now. But some big pointers through my career, I think, is like I qualified for the Commonwealth Games at the Gold Coast for the 1500, but due to it being in Australia and the quota, for example, they could only take like so many athletes. That I didn't get taken. It's the 1 year that they didn't take 3 athletes in that event to the Commonwealth Games. So I remember that particular kind of weekend definitely hurt, because I'd kind of like put all of my eggs in one basket in terms of like, this is like the North Star of the season or that particular phase of my career. And, I kind of convinced myself that I'd done enough. I was top 3. I'd run the qualification time, the A time a couple of times. You look back on history of like, they've always taken a full team. And lo and behold, the 1 year that I thought I was going, and plus, look, it was Australia, right? Who doesn't want to go to Australia for a running event? And I got kicked royally on that particular occasion. So that's certainly one that sticks out for me. A lot of lessons, but I've learned a hell of a lot in terms of just pure work output, effort. And, it's not linear in terms of getting somewhere. But I have seen my whole life through sport, the more effort you put in, you do just get there.
And those setbacks that you experienced as an athlete, what's your take on how they have helped you when you've gone into business and maybe not everything has gone plain sailing, or maybe everything has gone plain sailing, and it's all, beautiful rainbows and flowers, but when you've come up against an obstacle or a setback from a financial business perspective with URunn, how have those experiences as an athlete then helped you to overcome those?
Yeah, I think it's great that you're good at managing your like internal and your personal emotions around things. I think as an athlete, when you're young, you can act on emotion, and of course, I think the older you get and the more experience you have, you take a moment to, through experience, of course, of not acting on emotion. And I think it's just knowing, like, it's what you do next that counts, if that makes sense. It's that next step of figuring out the puzzle. It's I think we all, as athletes, I think you naturally have high expectations, and I often think, are you ever satisfied? I'll be honest, I think the answer is no. I think I'm starting to work that out now. You're constantly looking for the next thing, and I think that's definitely replicates in business and starting, a tech running app. I'm certainly seeing that, but I think it's just I kind of had a bit of a game plan in my head how it would really work. Yeah, there's a fair few moving parts when you obviously bring Sermo in, our other co-founder, which is, with you, which is a fintech business app as well. So there's a lot of moving parts, which I knew I potentially wouldn't be able to pull off, but I think everything aligned, and yeah, we pulled it off, I suppose, early stages at least.
So would love to dig into that a little bit more, because we've spoken to other people who have talked passionately about the value of a business partner, and how that can make or break, or not just can, almost certainly will make or break whether you financially succeed in your business. So what do you do when your business partner is a world famous athlete?
Yeah, what do you do? So I think, like, the great thing for me is, I've known Mo. It's not just like I picked up the phone or when I knocked on his door and was like, "Hey, mate, like, I've got this idea, right?" I do have an extensive relationship and background with we call him Sir Mo on here because we'd be polite.
What do you
So
call
I
him?
was
What do
lucky.
you call him?
I call him the big boss, if I'm honest. Sometimes it depends on what mood I'm in. But yeah, or Farah, but yeah, we'd be polite, Sir Mo. So I trained with him for his whole career. I was kind of like part of his setup, when he would train before kind of like the Olympics and world champs. So we created a really good kind of friendship. And again, we just got on, and we always, like I said, had a dream of doing something together that would involve running and helping others. But look, I know my skill set. Mo knows his skill set. I don't come from an extensive tech developer background. Like, I'm happy to say that, right? I'd be silly to try and sit here and explain that. I certainly have a skill set that is valued and needed for URunn, and so does Mo. So I know the CEO of With You. So for me, they are as an important co-founder of URunn. For me, it was like, how can we create a bit of a springboard at an early stage for URunn to kind of give us the best foundations, not just from having, I'm big on making sure that URunn has the expertise in it from day one. I didn't want it to just be like two tech people create a business and then they go in a year's time, we need to pay some athletes to kind of come on board. For me, it was like, I want to do it the right way. I wanted to integrate the best, from day one. So having Mo as a true co-founder is, yeah, it is a true asset, if I'm honest. Like, the passion that he brings, like, of course that comes with, for every pro there's a con, but the con's not a bad con. It's just enthusiasm, etc., which is, I've seen that replicated from winning to say I'm going to win an Olympic gold medal for each of my children, and you have 4 children. It's quite a big statement, and then to then go and pull it off, it's even more impressive. So to see that enthusiasm, I suppose a little bit like me, but on a bigger scale, or a much bigger scale. It's like you got Sir Mo, the Olympic gold medalist, now like Sir Mo into like leaning into the business, like seeing him translate that into URunn and being in the office. And I used an example. It was only a couple of months ago. We got a studio over here, and we were sat in there, and he had like a shoot or something to go to, and his team like, Mo, we've got to go. And he's like, hang on, and he's like, Ad, should we just phone some of the URunn athletes? He's like, let's just FaceTime some of them. So like we were just like, we had half an hour of just FaceTiming some of our like subscribers in the UK, and it was just pure magic that Mo kind of just thought of that, and to see people's face where they thought, one, it would have either been an unknown number or mine, and then they pick up this FaceTime and it's Sir Mo chatting to them about like London Marathon or something. It was insane. Like, it was
Brilliant.
really, really special.
So trippy.
Absolutely brilliant. And what are some of the challenges that you've experienced so far? How big have those challenges been?
Yeah, I think so. I think for any tech-based business, I suppose we're in a position, everyone does a tech-based startup, and if you either bootstrap it, you've got options with VCs, etc. We're fortunate to have a small group of angel investors, and then, of course, that gives us like a bigger runway to advance the product. So I suppose there's no guarantee that you can do that from day one, right? So you have ultimately an idea and a concept that is a PowerPoint. If I sent you the PowerPoint that I sat down with Mo and we went through it, it probably wouldn't pass my A-level art exam if I'm being totally honest. So at that point, there's still, myself personally, I've never been through like a raising capital before. So of course, I'm quite a confident person, and again, you're recalling on the people you have around you, the team that you kind of you work with, but also through that, just we get it done kind of thing. We'll find a way. You of course, before you've even started that process, you are thinking as an individual, those 3 a.m.s on the sofa, those I don't know why, it's always 2:30 or 3:30 that I see. I'm not sure why. And everything always seems a little bit worse at 3:30 in the morning, mulling over a certain scenario. So what was that? Okay, what route do we go from raising the initial seed round of funding? Of course, but through my lack of experience to a certain degree, that emotion probably was there. But like I say, I was lucky to surround myself with the right people and had the backing of some great angel investors to do so.
Adam, you're being very humble about what you feel you don't know starting a business. And that classic thing, you don't know what you don't know.
Of course.
How did you actually set yourself up to go out and secure that money when you didn't really know what you were doing? Because that's an awfully big ask, and you've been quite meteoric in terms of going from bootstrapping to getting some decent angel investment. How did you navigate that when you're coming at it from not necessarily the strongest place of knowledge?
Yeah, I think I'll go back to that, surrounding myself with the right like mentors, etc., and people that I look up to. So, one of the co-founders of our, one of the founders of one of our kind of co-founders with you. He's very experienced kind of in that world. A very successful entrepreneur. So I've always had a fascination with like that world even before. Like, so even like, I'd think back to like 2019. I always feel like I'd chew people's ears off. I probably, in a weird way, I'm asking the right questions for what then led me to about just under a year ago, really. So I suppose it's having the confidence to ask, surrounding yourself with the right people, and then also being passionate and believing in the product. Of course, every kind of founder is going to have that. There's probably not a founder out there. Even the guy that launched Whoop, I think he said he was embarrassed about his business for about 3 years or his product, but he still believed in it. So yeah, I think that gives you confidence as well when you're talking to the right people from an investment standpoint.
And then just to bring Samo back into the equation, to what extent was having him as your wingman in this, how much confidence did that provide people? And was there a flip side to that? Because we see a lot of elite professionals put their money where their mouth is and support technology businesses and invest in them and commit to growing them. But sometimes, yeah, they don't always survive the sniff test. Sometimes they look as it,
Hmm.
well, is there just a trade on, something else going on? Are they helping out a mate? How did you manage to convince investors that Samo was all in?
Yeah, I think one having him in some of the meetings kind of is proof in the pudding, right? I think that's that says it all. Having Sir Mo there. I think again, like I say, we had Sir Mo, but we also had with you that has the tech, the experience in the industry from that sports tech side. So I think it was like a double-edged sword in many ways, in a positive way, from a confidence standpoint. You had kind of the experience of with you as a co-founder, and Steve and his business. And obviously Mo from not just a face, fully invested, and the meetings that we were in, you could clearly see that. And then I suppose the passion, the drive, the vision that I've got, and I'd like to think the work ethic that I can put in. And yeah, I always say, like, bouncing off the walls on blue Skittles and black coffee. So I think just that combination of all of us playing to our strengths, and also the market that we're trying to crack, and we will crack. Creating a digital product in the running space. There's every every brand's trying to get into the running space. So actually trying to, it's quite an exciting space at the moment. So I think that obviously helped as well. So I think I don't want to say it's the perfect storm, because look, we've only been live 8 months, but we definitely had a positive springboard from the off.
Yeah, you've beaten me to it. My next question was going to be about the space, the running space that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
It is a congested space.
Mhm.
So how conscious were you of that at the outset? And I'm fascinated. You say we will break it. We will achieve what we want to achieve. So how can you have that much confidence? And how did it make your product different? How did you tailor your product? How did you tailor your financial plan as well, going into a market you knew was busy?
Yes, I think it does look. You do look at it from an outside perspective and think it's saturated, right? But I think if you get a little bit deeper in terms of like the space that we're specifically in. Like if you look at running as a whole, electrolytes, clothing, shoes, etc., like there is a hell of a lot out there. But I think if you look into the kind of digital training ecosystem, it's not. Yes, there are some out there, but I didn't look at it as like it's saturated. I actually pinpointed quite a lot of opportunity for URunn, and kind of how we're setting it up. Like I say, having that the best in our DNA from the off. You can't take that away from us, right? You've got Olympians, years and years of knowledge layered in it from day one. That's ultimately, you can't really. That's something you can't buy. So does that mean it takes us an extra month or two to maybe in the early days from a tech perspective? Maybe, but that's fine with us. And I think you've the look, there's so many metrics out there, right, in terms of this X amount of billion or whatever being spent. But I think what I say to people is the one tangible metric that, especially here in the UK, that we can all believe because it is facts, because it's measured and it's real data, is I think it was 2022, post COVID. So, post the boom as such. I think it was about 225,000 people entered the ballot for the London Marathon. For the ballot for 2026, it was 1.2 million. So that in itself kind of shows you the level of growth that kind of running is having. And I do think it's a cultural shift, and I don't think it's something that's been around forever. So I don't think it's like a fad that's going to be here today and gone tomorrow.
And you say about you cite the UK data. In terms of choosing your market, obviously running is a clear
Hmm.
one, but running isn't a one size fit all. There are all the
Oh.
different distance and disciplines.
Hmm.
It's also a very global sport. How do you pick your battles in terms of prioritising which markets and which distances to choose? And how are you going to achieve that growth? Because that's a challenge.
Yeah, I think like the obvious one for people when they start a business outside of the US is, the US is the biggest market. But I think we'd be, 8.5 months in live, be naive to go, look, we're going to take over America tomorrow. Look, there's a process to everything. So of course, being a UK based launched business, like the obvious one is English speaking territory in the country that we know very, very well. We've got the best athlete that's ever distance athlete that's been produced as our co-founder. And through the years, we've got a lot of connections. Okay, let's not that does obviously play a big part, but we've definitely got some strategies in terms of like territories that have we finalized and nailed it right now? No. Do we have an idea around, is it based around a partnership, for example? Do we see that there are certain markets that are, what I would say, slightly behind, they're starting to see that running boom. Some locations and territories are just behind, and that could be purely through like not having the number of mass participation like events. So that we are seeing a trend, and kind of like, I suppose we keep our cards a little bit close to our chest, of course, but we certainly have plans and a little bit of a roadmap where kind of we will target next.
On that plan, when you
Yeah.
set out, how did you? As we said, there are lots of other people doing stuff in the running space. You see an opportunity. Of course, you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't see that opportunity.
Yeah.
But how was there any part of you that thought there are so many other companies, tech startups, entrepreneurs doing stuff here? Is there a danger that they're working on exactly the same innovation to their app or their website that I think is going to give me my unique selling point, and by the time I've done my product, they will have rolled theirs out, and then the rug will be pulled from under us?
Well, I think yes and no. I think we're new enough that we can be faster, I think, in a potential in many ways. I think that's an edge and an advantage to us. I think we're lucky that our co-founder with you have an amazing kind of tech team that we've been able to lean into. So, we have been able to kind of accelerate an MVP, a V2, etc., probably pretty fast compared to if we didn't have that. So I think that's a big advantage. Of course, like we've done a hell of a lot of research into what's out there, what's not out there, what do we think is missing. So a lot of that is on our roadmap to come out in the coming months, which again we do seriously think is different to what's out there. And also, I think everyone, I always explain it like this, really. If you just look at the everyday runner, like our biggest thing is just to help. Yes, we're building a business and we're extremely passionate about that, but it all stems from a place of like wanting to just help people become like ultimately the best versions of themselves. And I think you see somebody, even if they start, I'm going to do couch to 5K, what a fantastic thing for somebody to do. But that person that completes a 5K, they might do it at a local club. They soon then think, do you know what? Could I run that 5K a few minutes quicker? And so before you realize, they're kind of in their own little performance mindset, and they wouldn't label it as performance because that word's like quite intimidating. And you reference performance with like Mo winning 4 Olympic golds or me running, an elite marathon or something. But actually that individual that has run their first 5K already thinking, could I run faster? That's performance to them. And what you're seeing is people are wanting to, in the running space, is yes, they're doing it for their well-being, etc., but they do want to invest in working or being part of the best to help them become their best. So we just saw an opportunity with Mo, myself, Charlotte, and the team to create something a little bit different. It's not elitist, it is for everybody, but being slightly different will just play into that kind of like ecosystem of kind of running now.
And I know you're relatively young compared with some of the other founders that we've spoken to, but the title of this series is obviously Finance and Failure. Has anything gone wrong so far that you've had a real head in hands moment and thought, oh God, why have I chosen to do this? Or, without naming names, have you seen anyone else in the sector make the type of mistake that you've thought, oh, there, but for the grace of God, go one of us?
Do you know what the biggest thing, right, is? Again, I mentioned earlier, I don't come from I didn't study tech or development or coding, etc., at all. It's not having the early stages, having a full understanding of the processes that it takes to lay the foundations to create certain models that suits to like mine, Mo, Charlotte's coaching style. It's that internal brain or system. It's me thinking we could do that in about 2 weeks, not realizing the time that takes. And it's more frustration of me not having a clear sight of fully knowing it. And I know I shouldn't know because it's not my area of expertise, but I think it stems from that little bit of perfection in me through an athlete, etc. That I know it doesn't sound bad in the moment now I'm saying it, but back, back kind of like the end of last year, I was like, it's frustrating not to be nailing all the time the timelines, but more from my own side.
And conversely, as you go forward, what's the biggest fear of which failure do you fear most beyond just not making the business work?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, a lot of it's personal satisfaction. I'm very driven on success. So for me, it's like I wanna make sure I enjoy this journey as well, because it's not of course, like growing and starting a tech business is not, it's not easy. But I think actually the fear of not enjoying it as much as I should do, if I think that's from more of a personal side of things. Again, I look back and I think I always say it to athletes and runners that I talk to. It's one thing I wish I'd done. Yes, I was relatively, or you could say I was successful as a professional athlete. I I put so much not pressure, but on performance. I didn't. Yes, I got where I wanted to go and I achieved what I needed to achieve, but I didn't. I often didn't enjoy it as much as I wish I did. And you don't realize you're in the good times until you're out of the good times. I'm comfortable in knowing that there's going to be good days and bad days, and it's being okay with that. Which, of course, like that's fine as a business owner. But I want to, yeah, enjoy the ride.
And with an eye to going further down the road,
Hmm.
obviously the business will change. We wish you
Of
every
course.
success, and it would be great to see you grow rapidly and appropriately and very successfully. Did you guys agree from the get-go that you needed to put something in place that legislated for growth and how you'd manage that in terms of where the buck stops or if somebody wanted out? And what are you all preparing in any way for that different mindset when you go from startup to scale up? Sorry, startup to stay up to scale up. There are
Yeah.
very different skills and mindsets involved. Have you had the conversation as to when that happens to URunn, how that will be managed?
Yeah, of course, 100%. Again, through co-founders and people involved have been through this life cycle of that ecosystem, a life cycle of the business world, more so than myself. And it's, yeah, very open dialogue from kind of day one, and that was from every party from day one. Like we're not naive in thinking if there's, you know more than one co-founder, there's more than one, personality, there's more than one vision. For example, yes, we might all be aligned on URunn and the product, which we are, but like you say, along the road, potentially opinions change. But I think, yes, we've got some things in place, but I think until that, we don't. Yeah, I don't personally think about it. It's pure tunnel vision, and yes, not being naive, but why think about something when it hasn't happened? Because there's no guarantee that does happen. So I think it would, at this point, one, be a waste of energy, and two, be a distraction that we, of course, wouldn't need.
It's such an athlete's
It
mentality,
is, it
isn't it?
really
Why think about
is.
something when it hasn't happened? Don't think about falling over when then you will.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that there might be some people listen and go, "You little naive Adam," but I think it's just the way that I'm wired. And I think, yeah, whether that's, what is right or wrong, you only get to right or wrong for experience, right? And I think if anyone disagrees with that, then you probably need to look in the mirror, maybe.
Yeah.
Honestly, Adam, that's been fascinating. It's such a fresh point of view talking to a founder who is so early stage and so driven and really willing to take a sector by the scruff of the neck and see where it takes them and their co-founders. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you guys for, yeah, having me on, and I hope I haven't chewed your ear off too much, because when it comes to when it anything running or URunn, I often overrun on meetings by quite a lot. So apologies if I have waffled on a little bit.
Not at all. No, no. And you're absolutely right about that performance mindset, even in sort of amateurs. I have 2 parkrun PBs. I have
Here we go.
I've got my pre-child parkrun PB, and now I've got my PB when I'm pushing my son in a buggy round the 5K. That's my new PB. That's the only one that matters. I'm never going to get near the previous one.
How hard is it with the buggy? I must ask this question.
It tests different muscles. You got to lean further forward, so your calves for the first couple of weeks are really stinging, and then they sort of wake up to the new reality. And then you do this thing where on the downhill, everyone's overtaken you on the uphill, and then on the downhill, it's like you're the kid in the supermarket and you hitch a ride on the trolley.
Mate,
It's great.
I have seen it, but I think I've done like the Bushy Park run a few times. Ironically, the first park run actually, and it's you do see some of the mums and dads like absolute jets, just like they're even on the flat. There has to be something in it. Did you have to have like a specialist buggy or not?
You should do. I don't. my one is not built for proper running, so I need to upgrade. But
sponsorship, we get this right. Anyone listening, come on. Yeah, we'll get you a PB.
Adam, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to speak to you.
Thanks, Adam.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Adam, which brings us to the end of Series 2. If you happen to have listened to this episode, but not any of the others, that would be unlikely, I suppose, but possible. So if that's you, then there is wisdom aplenty from Miles Grote, Trev Keane, Amber Dodson, Ben Achilles and Stephen Schweikart. So do go back and listen to our chats with them.
The SDA Group exists to be the link between suits, tracksuits, lab coats and wallets. Thank you again to our sponsor, Sports Tech HQ, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.